This couple is facing a major problem in their bedroom life, and they accidentally travel back in time 20 years when they were still university students, receiving the opportunity to choose their future again. And this time, how will they choose? They have been together since graduating from university and leaving the courthouse. Today is their divorce hearing. Jin Soo-do regretfully holds the divorce papers. The man is about to wave goodbye, but only receives the response, "Marrying a useless man like you, don't forget to pay child support on time." He says he wants to see the child frequently. The woman can only nod sadly. They once loved each other passionately. Now each goes their own way, time returning to a month before the divorce. As the girl enters the restroom, the child outside starts crying incessantly. Jin Soo-do hugs her stomach in pain and sings to the child, but to no avail. Helplessly, she has to carry the child into the restroom. Many mothers have experienced similar situations. The man passing by is startled, complaining that his wife went to the restroom without closing the door and even had to carry the child. Facing the unsympathetic man, the woman has no reaction, looking at her husband as if nothing happened. She has suppressed her anger. But this is certainly not the last straw. Today is their wedding anniversary. At first, Jin Soo-do didn't expect anything, but she was surprised to find the gift her husband bought. She happily opens the gift, her face beaming with happiness. But the husband quickly snatches it back, saying it's an anniversary gift for the director. Jin Soo-do hears this and is bewildered. It turns out it's not a gift for her. Then Jin Soo-do asks him what their wedding anniversary is. Seeing Jin Soo's angry eyes and the knives in the kitchen next to her, the husband starts apologizing to Jin Soo repeatedly, then sees Jin Soo-do about to throw his notebook into the water. The man named Bandu is a medical equipment salesman. The notebook records all the contact information of his customers. If he loses the phone numbers, he will lose his source of income. The man starts apologizing repeatedly. He will buy her many gifts. At this time, Jin Soo is furious and doesn't care. When Banduvan's apologies are to no avail, he says that if she throws it in the water, they will get divorced. Jin Soo can't believe it. Looking at her husband with a distorted face, suddenly she slips and the notebook falls into the water. Bandu quickly takes it out and wipes it with his clothes. When he gets in the car, Director Kim calls him, asking him to send some Luco for transfusion this afternoon. Bandu hurriedly takes out the notebook, but it is completely blurred, so he angrily blames Jin Soo-do. As for Jin Soo-do, she was about to eat at home, but heard her sons crying again, and had to take the food out of her mouth, finally only able to eat while carrying the child. The light bulb has been flickering for a year in the house, and the man, because of sales targets, does various jobs in the hospital, saying that if the light bulb lasts long, it will damage the eyes. I'm best at changing light bulbs. Jin Soo-do passes by her old-school gate, seeing the happy smiles on the students' faces, and she can't help but smile, remembering the wonderful student life. At this moment, a student looks at her with an embarrassed expression. It turns out that after feeding the child at home, Jin Soo-do has dirtied her clothes. She tries to wipe it with saliva, but it's no use, so she has to awkwardly use her backpack to cover it. Looking at the carefree students, she thinks about her current self. Jin Soo-do sinks into contemplation, but a call of auntie pulls her back to reality. On the other side, Banu is getting drunk every day, performing his talents for the boss in the bar. To make a living, he can only humble himself to serve the hospital director. Jin Soo can only stay home alone to take care of her sick child. When she calls Bandu, she only hears the noisy chatter. Helpless, she has to take the child to the hospital herself. At this time, Director Park calls him, asking him to come and save his mistress. Director Park is caught cheating by his wife, and he is holding his mistress back when the director's wife finds them. The director's wife, like a fierce lioness, rushes over and grabs the mistress's hair, tearing her mercilessly, cursing continuously. In the panic, the lady is pushed to the ground. Banu was about to apologize when he was suddenly knocked down by Director Park, who was still cursing him for hitting his wife. Afterwards, Director Park starts apologizing to Bandu, saying that if he hadn't just punched him, his wife would have thought he was really cheating. It was just a performance for his wife to see. I will pay more attention to your business and return the credit card I borrowed from Bandu. The director is afraid that the payment information for his hotel room will be discovered by his wife. At this time, Jin Soo-do has taken the child to the hospital for intravenous infusion. Looking at the child lying on the bed, Jin Soo-do keeps apologizing to him. In a hurry, she even wore the wrong pair of shoes. When Jin Soo returns home, she sees the bank credit card statement and suddenly discovers many hotel room payments in the transaction history. At the same time, Jinzu-do receives a message from a friend. The image is the scene of the director's mistress being pulled by her husband just now. While she toils day and night, her husband is cheating. Looking at herself in the mirror, battered by life, she now receives a message that her husband is not coming home. Jinzu is finally desperate and can't hold back her tears. At this time, Banu is sitting in the car downstairs, afraid to go home because his wife will discover the wound on his face, and there is also a bouquet of flowers he intends to give to his wife. Just then, Jinzu-do calls. On the phone, she asks how he could treat her like this. But Bandu says she doesn't know anything. He has to endure what's going on outside. His life is no better than a beast. The two completely don't understand each other, so they both feel distressed over the phone. Finally, Jinzu-do says, "Let's get divorced." Bandu, who is already feeling aggrieved, agrees loudly. In reality, there are many such couples who ultimately choose to go their separate ways due to lack of communication and mutual understanding. The calendar on the wall seems to be recording the end of today. The next day, Jinzu visits her deceased mother. She cries and tells her mother that she cannot visit her frequently. She is truly an unfilial child. That night, Banu buys 2 bottles of white wine. The convenience store owner even tells him to drink less. Banu is very confused and lost, so he goes to his sister's house, and as soon as he arrives, he is slapped by his mother, and his head really hurts. Then he is beaten by his sister, and scolded, "Why did you cheat on this useless guy?" Banu tries to explain, but he is hit hard on the back of the head by his father. On the bus, Jinzu takes off the wedding ring her husband gave her, and it falls to the ground. As the ring falls, a relationship also ends. Banu, who is drinking, also throws the ring away. At this moment, the 2 rings that were just thrown start to shake incessantly. Along with the shaking rings, the house also starts to shake similarly. The bus sways like a roller coaster. Afterwards, the 2 rings turn into dust and disappear into the air. At this moment, the house stops shaking and Jinzu also regains her senses on the swaying bus. Banu fearfully asks his mother if there was an earthquake, but he is scolded by his mother, and Jinzu also blames the driver for driving the swaying car. The driver says he is driving very slowly, and both are amazed at what they have just experienced. The next day, Bandu wakes up drunk, goes to the convenience store, and sees a group of children chasing a car with excessive emissions. He takes a package of noodles from the store but finds it has expired many years ago, and the other package is the same. He wants to ask the store owner, as the goods from his sister's store seem untrustworthy, but sees that the owner, who had gray hair yesterday, is now very young. He asks the owner if she has had hyaluronic acid injections, but suddenly sees his own face in the mirror has become a student's. Banu is frightened and quickly runs home. When he gets home, he sees that his mother has also become beautiful, and his father no longer has gray hair. Looking at the calendar on the wall, he sees it's May 1999, and he is too scared to speak. On the other side, Jinzu wakes up, opens her eyes and sees her deceased mother calling her. And seeing her mother in front of her, Jinzu-do thinks she is dreaming. She quickly grabs her mother and cries, telling her that she is divorced. Her mother doesn't understand, and Jinzu-do even cries, begging her mother to take her to the other world. The mother slaps her and says, "I'm not a messenger of hell. Do you think it's easy to follow me? If you want to, log out yourself and I'll live to 100. Jinzu-do keeps pinching her body, feeling very painful, but is slapped twice more by her mother, who tells her to go study quickly. Seeing her mother turn and leave, Jinzu-do doesn't know what she has been through, and she quickly looks down at her clothes. This is the clothes she wore when she was young. Then she is surprised to go into the classroom, finding everything familiar as before. The neatly stacked books are the same as when she went to school. It turns out that Jinzu-do has gone back to when she was 20 years old. At this time, Bandu is still admiring his abs in the mirror, and can't believe it. Suddenly he hears his mother calling him to go to school. He hurriedly asks his mother a question. "Do I really have to go to school? Am I really 20 years old? Am I a construction student?" Banu is then slapped by his father, who tells him to hurry to school before he's late. He tells his father that it really hurts, and asks his father to hit him again, but he almost faints. His father says, "Isn't this guy crazy?" Then Bandu is chased out of the house by his sister. On the other side, Jinzu hugs her mother, who is washing the dishes, but is pushed away by her. When she wants to hug her mother says, "Have you changed your strategy yet? Do you think I'll buy you a phone if you do that?" She can't believe she's back to the age of 20 and has met her deceased mother again. No matter where her mother goes, Jinzu-do follows her like a tail, afraid that the beloved mother will leave her again. At this time, her sister suddenly takes her suitcase and leaves the room, telling her mother that if she doesn't buy her a phone, she'll run away from home. As soon as she finishes speaking, she is slapped by Jinzu-do, who tells her not to talk to her mother that way. At this time, her father runs out to take her to school, but Jinzu-do suddenly remembers that the person who used to run away from home because of demanding a phone was her. Actually, in the eyes of the family, the events that happened yesterday are not paid much attention to. At this time, Choi Bandu has arrived at the school gate, and he keeps asking himself if he is dreaming, then happily runs into the school. At this time, Jinzu-do is also brought to the school gate by her father. She finds everything around her unfamiliar. When she sees herself in the mirror, she admires her beautiful skin. She happily enters the school, and the entire campus is filled with a youthful atmosphere. At this time, Bandu is also happily observing every student around him. He can't believe he has really gone back to the age of 20, still a freshman in college. He happily follows the instructor, hoping this dream will never end. On the other side, Jinzu-do is also happily observing everything. Seeing the students exercising, she also nods along with the rhythm and sighs that youth is so beautiful. At this moment, Jinzu-do suddenly discovers Bandu approaching, and Bandu also discovers her. Jinzu-do thought she was the only one who had gone back in time, so she would never meet Bandu again. She firmly walks away, pretending not to know him. As they pass each other, Bandu turns to look at Jinzu's back, and in his heart he also thinks that since we don't know each other yet, it's best not to meet again in the future. Then he happily turns and walks away. On the other side, Jinzu-do also tells herself that it seems she is the only one who has gone back in time. Bandu is still as stupid as before, and she wonders why she liked him back then. After that, she suddenly sees the students finishing their exercises on the field. And when she looks at the team leader Nam-da, she suddenly remembers something. When she had dinner with Borium in the future, she had said that this man had once pursued her. In the future, he is a wealthy heir with 60 billion in assets, and she regretted not accepting him back then when her mind was not clear. At this moment, Nam-do suddenly sees her talking to herself, and Borium calls her. Jinzu is surprised to stand up. She can't believe this is her future best friend. She praises Borium's beauty and happily tells Borium that she is only 20 years old. But Borium thinks she is crazy. On the other side, Bandu is going downstairs and sees some students discussing the teacher next to him. He turns his head to look, and it turns out her skirt has a problem. With his maturity, he naturally cannot let this bad thing spread. He quickly runs over and quietly tells the teacher to fix her skirt immediately, so the students behind don't. See? Then Bandu happily runs down again. As soon as he arrives at the school building, he sees his future best friend. He opens his eyes wide, not daring to believe the student in front of him, mocking his yellow duck-like outfit. But soon after, he is detained in the classroom with other new students. The seniors above punish and ask why he knows he should wear a uniform today but didn't wear it. Then they are all punished as a group. The whole class trains with Banu for 2 hours, so everyone's legs are shaking. Every shoe is pure torture. The seniors above say, unless there are female students in the class, no one is allowed to stand up. For a construction major that's all male, how can there be female students? Suddenly, a long-haired girl walks by. They all silently pray for her to enter. At this moment, the door is opened. Everyone is eagerly looking out the door, but the person who walks in is a guy who is leaning on someone. Bandu laughs and hugs his stomach. It turns out to be his future friend Gok, whom he had mocked. Bandu starts mocking the hairstyle of the other guy, saying it looks like a woman's. On the other side, Jinzu-do suddenly sees Nam-ro being followed by a group of female fans after his workout. She secretly thinks, why did she reject him before? This time, she should take the initiative to approach him. Jinzu-do suddenly runs up and shyly calls OP. At this moment, the students around are surprised and look at her as if the atmosphere has suddenly frozen, becoming embarrassing. Afterwards, Jinzu is pulled out by Borium and asked if she's gone crazy. If you like him, why did you make him so embarrassed last night? It turns out that last night Nam-do confessed to Jinzu in front of many friends, but Jinzu-do said he had body odor and turned away, leaving Nam-do in an awkward situation. Jinzu-do tells Borium that she doesn't know anything about last night because she just time-traveled here today. At the school gate, Banu suddenly sees a bespectacled person passing by, and he feels familiar, so he chases after him. He realizes This is Director Park, who had punched him in the future and used his credit card to book a hotel room. The divorce with his wife was also partly his fault. Seeing Director Park talking to the woman he had beaten, Banu angrily crushes the Coca-Cola can in his hand, wanting to take revenge. He bumps into them and apologizes casually. Director Park's girlfriend screams like a crazy lioness, but Director Park surprisingly says it's okay. Banu hands the Coca-Cola can to him and apologizes, then turns and leaves. When Director Park opens the Coca-Cola can, he gets sprayed in the face. It turns out Banu had shaken the can before. Gao Jok Che happily tells him that there will be a freshman welcoming party tonight. That night, the new female freshmen sitting across from them make the boys sitting opposite feel awkward. Banu is surprised to see Jinzhu sitting across from him. At first, they didn't intend to have any connection, but they forgot that they had already met at this freshman welcoming party. Fortunately, they both think the other person still doesn't know them yet. They go to a dating restaurant for couples. Everyone secretly chooses their desired date. After self-introductions, the boys go out first. The girls place their personal items on the table for the boys to choose. Whoever is chosen can go out. In the dating process, Bandu chooses the beautiful Borium. Then it's Bandu's turn, and there are only 2 items left. Gu Jok Che is flirting with Jinzhu. Although Bandu doesn't want to get involved with Jinzhu anymore, but now there are not many options left, so he finally chooses Jinzhu's handkerchief. As a result, Goku Che has no choice left. Afterwards, the successful couples leave one by one. Since Goku Che doesn't like his date, he panics in the alley. Borium says she wants to go drink. Ju, who doesn't know how to drink, can only reluctantly follow. In the private room, only Bandu and Jinzhu are left. Jinzhu doesn't want to seduce men to get married here. Then Bandu uses some vicious words to scold her, then stands up and leaves, but not before reminding her that he had rejected her. Although Jinzhu doesn't say anything, she also realizes that Bandu has also time-traveled here. As soon as Bandu walks out, he suddenly sees the girl of his dreams from the past. He doesn't want to miss this rare opportunity again, so he goes up and introduces himself. The scene is witnessed by Jinzhu as she walks out, and she starts cursing. This bastard. He just arrived at school and started flirting with his dream girl. When Jinzhu is walking home alone, she suddenly hears a child calling, "Mom!" When she turns around, in front of her is her son Jane. At this moment, a woman hugs the child, and Jinzhu realizes she has mistaken the child for someone else's. She is not even married yet, but thinking of her son Sane, tears start rolling down her delicate face. She remembers the memories with her son in the future and finally kneels down on the ground. Women are weak but become strong when they become mothers. Jinzhu cries as she takes a taxi to the train station. But this is not a taxi. It turns out Namdo is waiting for someone. But Namdo doesn't say anything as he sees Jinzhu crying. He just silently drives Jinzhu home safely. On the way, Jinzhu keeps crying because now she is a mother missing her child. Before getting off the car, Jinzhu tries to swipe her bank card, but this is the era before card swiping machines exist. Namdo is surprised to hold the card and look at it, then returns it. Back home, the whole family is watching TV, but Jindu sits in a corner staring at her mother intently. Her mother feels creepy, and even when sleeping, Jindu hugs her mother and refuses to let go. She's afraid that when she opens her eyes, this dream will disappear and her mother will leave her again. But this only makes the parents find her. A bit scary. On the other side, Bandu doesn't dare to sleep at all. He's also afraid that when he wakes up, he'll return to the real life, so he ends up falling asleep with his eyes open, along with the scream of the delivery man who stumbled. The next morning, Jins wakes up. Now she's looking at herself in the mirror and realizes that what happened yesterday was not a dream. At this time, Bandu is standing in front of the mirror saying yes. He also laughs loudly and cheerfully, not dreaming. Then he tells his parents that he wants to withdraw all the money to invest, but ends up being almost beaten to death. In the end, he has to sell all his model and comic book collections. He happily counts the money, wanting to enjoy a good life. Even when the bus arrives at the station, he doesn't want to go, just wanting to enjoy the joy of youth. At this time, Jinzu is in a taxi, and she wants to find Bandu to talk. But when she gets off the taxi, her credit card doesn't work. Clearly it worked when she took the taxi before. Luckily, her father gave her some cash so she could pay the taxi fare. Choi Bandu goes straight to the dance club. He doesn't want to miss the Chance to pursue the goddess Seong this time. In the past, he was shy and didn't even dare to talk to Seo Yang. But now he walks straight in, takes a drink from his bag, and gives it to Seo Yang. He doesn't forget the basic knowledge that, to get the sister, you have to get the favor of the younger sister first. After giving the drink to Seo Yang's friend, he turns and leaves. Sure enough, it's the mature men that girls like. In class, Jinzu borrows an old homework assignment and gives Bandu a paper full of stingy words. This is what Jinzu always complained about Bandu after they got married in the future. And now, Bandu realizes that Jinzu has also time-traveled here. They mock each other, acting very well, and agree that from now on, they'll go their separate ways. The students in the dormitory are all depressed. Jinzu asks the other two that they should cherish their time, not just staying in the dormitory like this, so she decides to go drink and dance at the club. That afternoon, the three of them dress up nicely in fashionable clothes and walk out of the dormitory, but stop when they see the 100-meter steep slope in front of them, and look at the high heels on their feet. While the other two are carefully walking down the slope, Jinzu takes big steps forward. Due to the steep slope, she can't stop, and ends up hugging Namdo to stop. Seeing the two in this situation, she quickly apologizes to Namdo, saying it's her first time wearing high heels. Namdo tries to remain calm and walk. This scene is also seen by Banu's group below. Banu feels bitter in his heart. Gu Jok-chae says he'll be waiting there tomorrow. In the bar, a group of young people are dancing enthusiastically. The three girls sit together. Jinzu eats while looking around. This is also the first time she's been to a bar. At this moment, Jindu sees someone else raising a light and dancing, so she also raises the light and sways to the music. At this time, the server comes over and it turns out this is how to call for service. The server asks if she wants to get to know a boy. Jinzu hears this and is overjoyed. On the other side, Bandu and his two friends also go to a private room in the bar. Banu says they can play freely and he'll pay for everything. Then Gok-chae calls in a beautiful waitress. Joe also shyly talks to the girl next to him. The atmosphere is quite cold. Only Banu is playing happily. In the future, he is the bar prince, creating a lively atmosphere that makes the girls laugh and have a good impression of Bandu. Gu Jok-chae sitting next to him shows disgust. Jinzu is also taken to Park Hun-suk's room. Everyone drinks happily for a while, then the three want to go out and dance. Before leaving, Park Huyuch gives her a piece of paper with his phone number written on it. The two groups meet on the dance floor, then the five of them go to the private room. Only Jinzu doesn't go. She doesn't want to see the hateful Bandu, so she can only drink alone to drown her sorrows. At this time, the server rushes in, saying their friend is going crazy from drunkenness outside. Going outside, they see Jinzu having borrowed courage from the alcohol, turning off the music, grabbing the microphone on stage and singing. After singing, she looks up and sees Bandu on the upper floor. She takes the small piece of paper from Park Huyuch and boasts to him, "Someone said I'm beautiful and even left me their phone number." Bandu angrily turns away without looking at Jinzu again, but the situation changes. Jinzu says, "Even though you've messed up my life, what about Sane?" Their son Sejin is the only one Banu cares about in the future. Even if they can go back to the past to choose a new life, leaving behind the regrets of the past, their child in the future is also inseparable. Banu is stunned when he hears Sejin, but Goku-chae suddenly runs out, vomiting all the alcohol and leftover food on the server's head. The people below hurry to avoid it, and in the end, Gok-chae is exhausted, can only slump on the railing and weakly blow his hair. Unexpectedly, he is carried out by two security guards, who enthusiastically tell him that if he comes here again, they'll beat him up again. Afterwards, Gok-chae is helped back to the dormitory, but when they arrive, they find the school gate is already locked. Gu Jok-chae volunteers to crawl in like a dog. Although his head has managed to get in, his body can't get through, and when he tries to back out, he gets stuck. Surprisingly, Ju enters through the small door next to it. It turns out the small door is not locked. Then she starts trying to rescue Goku-chae in various ways, but it's completely futile. In the end, she says she'll call someone, and as soon as she meets someone, her phone rings. It's Borium calling Gu. Ju immediately sinks into love, forgetting all about Gu Jok-chae, leaving him alone and pitiful. At this time, thunder and lightning suddenly appear, and the rain pours down like a little water. Poor Gu Jok-chae sits there shivering like a wet chicken. In the morning, a delivery man finds him as he approaches, and the man keeps saying he wants water. In the end, the man is so scared that he runs away. Finally, under the witness of everyone, the fire department arrives to rescue Gokche. Banu meets Jinzu in the hallway and immediately grabs her hand and pulls her into the radio room next door, asking why she went to the bar, got drunk and sang on stage. "You're a mother now. How can you not know to maintain your image?" Jinzu retorts, "What does it have to do with you that I went to the bar to drink?" Banu angrily asks, "Although we're divorced, don't you want our child to have a mother like you?" At this moment, they forget they've gone back to the age of 20. Since the microphone in the radio room is not turned off, their conversation is broadcast throughout the school. All the students stop and listen. Now the students in the class are discussing. Our school has a divorced student with a child studying here? The conversation is also overheard by Chanale passing by. Only Chansale knows they are the two of them. My best friend turns out to be a divorced woman with a child. All the students in the class are discussing the divorced couple who were just talking. Joe also tells Bandu there's a divorced student couple in school, and the important thing is they both cheated. Banu is surprised to hear this. When he hears about the child, he also curses. Joe says the person doesn't provide for the child, and he also curses the man as a piece of trash. Little did he know, this conversation is about him. But Bandu doesn't know that the conversation in the radio room was heard by the whole school. When he hears the word stingy, he asks who said that. He points to the speaker in the classroom and hears the students behind talking about the conversation just now. Jinzu also hears the male student behind saying, "How dare she come to school to seduce young male students?" At this time, the speaker suddenly broadcasts, "The principal says the recent radio broadcast incident is not related to the school, and they will definitely investigate who the students are." Jinzu just wants to sink into the ground. In the cafeteria, Bandu sits next to Jinzu. They look at each other, not knowing what to do. Treoseo looks at Bandu meaningfully and says, "Bastard, seducing young female students and even getting one pregnant." Ro says, "The whole school is looking for the divorced couple who were arguing so fiercely they must have a bad relationship. From now on, we have to pay attention to those who argue for no reason. Those kinds of people are very suspicious." Bandu stammers and asks Jinzu next to him if there are people like that. Jinzu says bluntly that there are not. At this time, the classmates behind are still cursing the couple as bastards, not even needing their child. That girl must be a vixen. To avoid being suspected by their classmates, the two of them start pretending to chat with each other. It's the thief catching the thief. In the evening self-study session, the senior student tells everyone, "Next door is our history department's resource room. I'm sure you've all heard the rumors. A long time ago, a freshman committed suicide there. Since then, many students have seen ghosts there. If anyone can get the designated materials from there, I'll treat everyone to drinks today." The classmates happily clap, but by the time they go, no one has succeeded yet. The freshmen hear this and are scared out of their wits. A student, terrified to the point of losing his soul, tells everyone that there really are ghosts. At this moment, Jindu volunteers to go in, immediately feeling a creepy sensation. Then she starts looking for the red envelope the senior mentioned. At this moment, a book falls from the shelf, then another one falls. Jinzu remembers she has experienced this before her time travel. This is a gift for the freshmen prepared by the senior history students. The falling books and the anatomical model in the corner of the library are all disguised by the seniors. At that time, Jinzu was scared to death. The thought brought a knowing smile to her lips. She played along perfectly, letting out a scream each time the senior made books fall from the shelf. When a book suddenly tumbled down behind him without warning, his face turned ghostly pale as he bolted from the room in terror. Across the way, the student pretending to be a mannequin heard the commotion and smirked, pleased to have frightened another victim. Then Jinzu slowly reached her hand toward the other senior, who screamed just as loudly before fleeing. The two ghosts ran out in mutual terror, swearing the room was truly haunted. Namdu removed his mask, thinking the prank was over, only to spot Jinzu searching for the envelope the seniors had mentioned. She climbed the ladder to retrieve it but lost her balance. In that critical moment, Namdo caught her in his arms. They lingered in the embrace, staring at each other until Jinzu snapped out of it. only to stumble into the ladder behind her. Nam-do caught her again as the ladder crashed onto him, pulling them into another intimate embrace. With his ankle injured from protecting her, he leaned on Jinzu as they exited. The impressed senior treated the freshman to drinks to celebrate Jinzu retrieving the envelope. Meanwhile, Bandu finally secured his first date with his first love, the exact scenario he'd always dreamed of, making up for past regrets. Watching Crass eat filled Bandu with overwhelming happiness. At the bar, everyone toasted Jinzu's successful mission. "Ghosts aren't scary at all," she declared cheerfully before noticing Nam-do's injury and tenderly applying ice from the kitchen to his leg. As the celebration continued, Nam-do watched Jinzu's radiant smile while she downed beers and teased a friend for drinking juice instead. "Treasure these college days," she advised warmly before eventually slumping over the table, drunk and giggling adorably, melting Nam-do's heart. After instructing seniors to take Chansale back to the dorm, she headed home. Worried about her walking alone intoxicated, Nam-do secretly followed. On the bus home, Jinzu absent-mindedly traced a small footprint on the fogged window, suddenly reminded of her future son, Seo Jane. Memories of his beaming smile and joyful runs toward her brought uncontrollable tears. No matter the circumstances, a mother's greatest weakness remains her children. Nam-do witnessed this raw grief from afar. The second time he'd seen her shift abruptly from joy to sorrow. After ensuring she got home safely, he turned toward Yang with quiet concern. Bandu's newfound maturity and humor had won him his dream date with Seo Yang. After seeing her off, he celebrated with an excited little dance, only to freeze when spotting his future in-laws approaching. His blood ran cold remembering how his mother-in-law had treated him like her own son before her untimely death, a loss he'd always regret due to his own mistakes. The next day, he anonymously left her favorite grapes at her doorstep, watching from afar. When a rude man knocked over her groceries without apology, Bandu intervened forcefully. "A real man wouldn't treat his mother-in-law this way," he declared, helping gather the scattered fruit while flooded with wedding day memories. How she'd proudly told relatives she gained a son rather than losing a daughter. Jinzu's sudden appearance startled him, and she angrily ordered him away from her home. That night, Bandu drank alone on the street, haunted by memories of his son's sunny smile. How Seo Jin could erase any exhaustion just by running into his arms. Simultaneously, Jinzu sobbed in her room, equally tormented by visions of their child. The next morning, Jinzu's mother grew increasingly concerned about her daughter's unexplained crying spells and disturbing dreams about her death. Jinzu could only cling to her silently, dreading the inevitable separation when she returned to her future. At the hospital dialysis appointment, Jinzu grilled doctors about preventing complications, but received only uncertain answers. A nurse mentioned Bandu had asked identical questions yesterday, proof he hadn't forgotten the woman who treated him as her own. At lunch, handsome Nam-do joined Jinzu and boldly declared his intentions. Though uncomfortable during their campus walk, she softened when witnessing a female fan's crushed expression after Nam-do rejected her homemade treats. "You should appreciate such sincere feelings," Jinzu scolded, offering him a trash-picked chocolate bar before their 7 p.m. meetup. Meanwhile at the pool, Bandu overheard Park Hyun-suk bad-mouthing Jinzu and accidentally kicked him into the water, an act that left Nam-do bewildered. That evening at the movies, Bandu panicked upon recognizing his future father-in-law at the ticket booth. The tension escalated when Jinzu loudly asked Nam-do if his confession meant they were dating, just to provoke Bandu, who retaliated by asking Seo Yang why she'd date an old man like him. When the film ended, Bandu reflexively called Jinzu's father-in-law, before fleeing in embarrassment. Jinzu quickly covered by introducing Nam-do as her senior, though the electric tension between them remained palpable. Her father shot them an exasperated look before finally walking away. Bandu strolled through the streets with Seo Yang, their cheerful conversation flowing effortlessly like two lovers completely absorbed in each other. His newfound maturity and understanding had clearly captivated Seo Yang. As they walked, her hand unconsciously found his, sending an electric current through them both. This was the exact romantic scene Bandu had always fantasized about. Meanwhile, at a cozy bar, Jinzu sat across from Nam-do during their date. With heartfelt sincerity, Nam-do poured out his feelings for her in a tender confession. After their drinks, he gallantly escorted her home. On his return trip, still floating on happiness, a strong hand suddenly grabbed his shoulder, Jinzu's father, who'd spotted him earlier at the cinema. The two men ended up at a dimly lit street stall. After downing a shot, Jinzu's father fixed Namdo with a stern look. "What exactly are your intentions with my daughter?" When Namdo earnestly admitted his growing affection, her father's frown deepened. "And what do your parents do?" he demanded. "My father serves as president of Korea University," Namdo replied honestly. The older man choked on his drink, spraying liquor across the table. "Korea University, that's where my daughter studies." Realizing his little girl was dating the university, President Sun Jinzu's father suddenly became acutely aware of his own blunt questioning. "Let's keep this little chat between us men," he muttered awkwardly before making a hasty exit. The next afternoon, rain sheeted down as Jinzu struggled with a broken umbrella at the bus stop. Spotting Seo Yang waiting for Bandu nearby, she quickly hid her damaged umbrella to avoid embarrassment. Ironically, Seo Yang had deliberately left her own umbrella at home. Her clever ploy to share shelter with Bandu during the romantic rainfall. Jinzu, now thoroughly drenched, was rescued when Nam-do appeared with a sturdy umbrella. The two couples passed each other like scenes from parallel love stories. When the storm passed, Jinzu immediately confronted Bandu.
"Were you completely insane yesterday? Calling my dad father-in-law right to his face?" Bandu just shrugged. 18 years of habit. It just slipped out. Jinzu then revealed Seo Yang's umbrella scheme, making Bandu grin foolishly. "She
just wanted to walk close together in the rain," he said dreamily. Their teasing was interrupted when Gok Chae overheard and butted in, mistakenly thinking they were discussing some drama plot. At the university's 99th anniversary festival, Jinzu shone at her department's food stall, drawing crowds with her impressive cooking skills. Bandu, meanwhile, shirked his duties to wander the fairgrounds hand in hand with Seo Yang. When they stopped at a water balloon game, Jinzu saw her chance for revenge. Leaning close to the senior running the booth, she whispered, "Make sure every throw hits Bandu." Despite Seo Yang's protests, Bandu soon stood dripping wet, the clear target of Jinzu's mischief. That evening's Miss September pageant was in crisis until organizers begged Jinzu to perform. Reluctant because of her food-stained clothes, she refused, until Nam-do coincidentally produced a beautiful dress, claiming it belonged to his sister. On stage, transformed in the elegant gown, Jinzu captivated the audience with a soulful ballad that brought thunderous applause. Backstage, chaos erupted when Jinzu, finding the women's restroom closed for repairs, risked using the men's room. Mid-change, the door flew open to reveal Nam-do's shocked face. As she shrieked, the door opened again, this time revealing Bandu, who froze at the sight of his future wife in such compromising proximity to Nam-do. Jealousy flared hot, though. He bit back the words, "I'm her husband." After all, they'd divorced in the future. Nam-do, towering over Bandu by half a head, shot him a withering look before stalking off. Jinzu rubbed salt in the wound. "He's way taller than you. Maybe don't pick that fight." The next day's revenge plot unfolded perfectly. After luring womanizer Park Hyun-suk into believing Jinzu was a Samsung heiress, they exposed his 4 simultaneous girlfriends at a medical school gala. When his furious harem confronted him, Jinzu delivered a well-aimed knee that left him writhing on the floor. Victorious, she and Bandu sat on a park bench, laughing about their scheme until memories of their son Seo Jin silenced them. Tears fell as they each pictured his bright smile on playground swings. That night, as Jinzu walked home alone, Park Hyun-suk ambushed her in a dark alley, blaming her for his ruined reputation. Just as he lunged, Namdo appeared like a shadow, effortlessly beating the attacker into submission. Jinzu stopped the violence with quiet words, "However awful, he's still someone's beloved son." The poignant moment hung between them, heavy with unspoken understanding. She told that man not to deceive any more girls. As he was leaving, Jinzu muttered to himself, "If my child ends up like this in the future, what would I do?" Meanwhile, Bandu received a call from Seo Yang. Seo Yang was upset with her family's arrangements and had run away from home. While eating, Bandu scolded her, telling her not to leave home on her own. If she had opinions, she should express them, and she should understand her parents' feelings. Don't make them worry. But the girl said that since she had already left, she no longer had a home to return to. Looking back toward the love motel, Bandu cleared his throat, and without saying much, took the girl back to his house. He told her that she didn't understand how dangerous society was, and that if she ever wanted to run away from home again, she must have her parents' permission. While Bandu was trying to teach Seo Yang a lesson, her father, worried, came looking for her. He promised to respect his daughter's opinions from now on. In the end, Seo Yang looked at Bandu with teary eyes and quietly followed her father home. The next morning, Jinzu opened her eyes to see her mother sitting by the bed. Her mother asked who Seon really was, the one Jinzu called out for in tears every night. It turned out her mother often heard her crying and came in to check. At first she thought her daughter was just heartbroken over a breakup and didn't pay it much attention. But since this had gone on for more than just a day or two, she had to ask clearly who Jin was to cause her daughter so much pain. Jinzu heard the question but didn't reply. Her eyes just silently began to turn red. Her mother said, "See, you're crying again. Do you really love him that much?" Jinzu wiped her tears and said to her mother, "Let's go to the public bathhouse. Together. I'll scrub your back." Her mother was very surprised, as Jinzu had always hated going to public baths, saying it was too embarrassing. In the bathhouse, her mother gently dried Jinzu's hair. At the entrance, Jinzu leaned on her mother's shoulder. At that moment, a baby stroller stopped in front of them. Seeing her mother joyfully playing with the child, Jinzu said, "If you met my son, you'd probably like him a lot, right? You said if he looked like me, he'd be fair-skinned and soft." After hearing that, Jinzu's eyes turned red again. She remembered the moment after giving birth, when her husband's whole family rejoiced, while she could only cry looking at a photo of her mother. Thinking of that, Jinzu tightly hugged her mother and said, "Thank you for giving birth to me." That night, when Bandu took Jinzu home, he asked if everything had gone well the previous night. Jinzu only said she had something to do and had already called him. "I shouldn't have expected anything. Every time I need you, you're not there." With that, Jinzu turned her back and went inside, leaving Bandu standing there, bewildered. Bandu remembered that when Jinzu's mother passed away, he was at the police station for fighting, which caused Jinzu to miss seeing her mother one last time. Regretful, Bandu walked a few steps and then saw Jinzu's mother. But she asked him if he was sane. Bandu was shocked. When he heard the name Seijin come from her mouth, he was stunned. The mother said, "Thank you for helping the last time, but I don't like people who make my daughter cry. Please don't come to our house again." Then she muttered to herself, "I thought the one making my daughter cry every night would be some fearsome guy." Realizing what had happened, Bandu loudly said to her, "My name is Choi Bandu." The next day, a rich girl saw Bandu on her way to school and waved for him to get in the car. The chauffeur quickly opened the door for him. Treated like royalty, Bandu thought. It's really great to have money. The rich girl shyly looked at him. Bandu thought to himself, she even has a driver. That must be why Park Hui-suk is chasing after her. The rich girl thanked him for his help last time. As she got out of the car, she said she had no prejudice against relationships with older men and asked if he had a girlfriend. Bandu suddenly imagined that if he married this rich girl, he'd become a hospital director and punish Park Hui-suk, making him do the dirtiest, hardest work. "Honey!" He suddenly woke up from his daydream, slapped himself twice, and told himself he couldn't just live off others. But unexpectedly, Jinzu walked over and saw him. Panicked, he turned and ran off, leaving Jinzu confused. At the school cafe, Bandu and Seo Yang chatted. Seo Yang told Bandu that her parents had agreed to her request and would no longer force her to participate in competitions. Then she asked Bandu, "You don't like me, do you? I used to think you definitely liked me. Usually when someone likes another person, their eyes sparkle. But the way you look at me is just like my dad. If you really liked me, you would have regretted taking me home that day." In the end, they ended their innocent love story with laughter. The next day, Bandu drove his father's old car and picked up all his friends to begin a romantic school skipping trip. Everyone asked if Bandu could drive. He said he had 15 years of experience, but when they saw his newly issued driver's license, they all felt nervous. Only Jinzu still trusted his driving skills. He put in a cassette tape and everyone started dancing joyfully. Night fell, but they still hadn't arrived. Jinzu asked if they had taken a wrong turn. Bandu told her the city map was engraved in his mind. There was a tunnel ahead, but when Ji looked at the map, there was no sign of it. Then he remembered. It was 1999 now, and many roads hadn't been built yet. Heavy rain poured behind them, and they were starving. Director Ji became impatient and threw the map away. With no other choice, they had to stop by the roadside. No one knew where they were. Bandu told Director G to get food from the trunk, but there was only pork belly. Hearing it sizzle, their first meal of the trip officially began. They sat around a fire, drinking and eating to their fill. Everyone danced joyfully, the atmosphere full of youthful energy. Ninu and Borium held hands. Jinzu was reminded of her wedding day, the moment her father entrusted her to Bandu. They were so happy back then. The moment he put the ring on Jinzu's finger was the moment he committed to spending the rest of his life with her. Bandu looked at Jinzu in front of him and felt a deep sense of guilt toward the woman who had stayed by his side all these years. The scene of them receiving blessings at their wedding felt like it had just happened yesterday. The next day they were woken up by nearby workers. It turned out they had slept at the construction site. The 6 of them continued their journey. When the van reached the beach, everyone happily splashed water at each other. Seeing their joy, Jinzu sighed at how wonderful youth was. Even while washing off the sand, the 6 of them played around, cheerfully. As they were preparing to eat, they unexpectedly ran into Namdo by the roadside. Bandu asked, "Why are you here?" Chaiseo said she had called him. In her heart, Chaiseo believed Bandu had abandoned her friend and didn't want Jinzu getting close to him. This threw off Bandu's plans. During the meal, Bandu and Namdo sat on either side of Jinzu to protect her. Bandu picked the largest clam for Jinzu, then served the others. Namdo gestured that he wanted one too, so Bandu reluctantly gave him a tiny steamed clam. Namdo looked at him helplessly. Bandu began mocking Namdo for being a clingy, annoying follower. Namdo claimed he just came for a walk because he was feeling down, but in truth, everyone knew it was because of Jinzu. When Jinzu accidentally got her clothes wet, Bandu calmly helped her dry off, which made Namdo immediately jealous. After the meal, Bandu entered the bathroom while Jinzu was washing her face. He said, "Are you having fun? Namdo is all surface level. Who knows what he'll be like in the future? You should keep your distance." Jinzu replied, "Did you forget? When we watched TV together, you even said he was amazing." Bandu suddenly remembered. He was the same guy. He changed his tone. "Wow, Jinzu, you're smart. Did you get close to him because you knew he'd become rich?" Jinzu mocked him until he had nothing left to say. That evening, Bandu asked Gokdo Che if he had seen Jinzu. Gokdo Che didn't know. Namdo also asked the others which way she went. Bori guessed she probably just went for a walk. Namdo immediately went to look for her and happened to find Jinzu returning. He told her, "I wanted to go for a walk too. Can you stay with me a while?" The 2 of them walked side by side along the mountain path, looking like a couple, in love. They ended up at a bridge where fireflies were dancing through the air, creating a magical, fairy tale scene. Jinzu was enchanted. Seeing her shiver slightly, Namdo took off his jacket and gently wrapped it around her, then pulled her into his arms. It was a moment he had waited a long time for. At that moment, Bandu arrived. From afar, he was stunned. At the scene before him, Jinzu and Namdo's embrace on the bridge, he was furious, frozen in place. The woman he once loved was now in someone else's arms. That same bridge had been the place he and Jinzu had their first date. The joyful smile she had once shown him was still vivid in his mind. But the person standing beside her now wasn't him. Seeing their backs, his eyes filled with tears. He could only pretend he hadn't seen anything. That night, the 3 of them drank until midnight. Jinzu, tipsy, swayed in the middle. To keep her from hitting her head on the table, both men reached out to support her. But Namdo was one step too late. Bandu had already caught her. Cheerfully, Bandu told Namdo to back off. Namdo refused to give in, and the 2 kept tugging back and forth. Later that night, Namdo snuck into their room to check where Jinzu was sleeping. He gently nudged Gokche aside and took his spot, just to be closer to Jinzu. Unexpectedly, Bandu entered. Namdo pretended to sleep. Bandu sighed and lay down on the other side of Jinzu like a curled-up puppy. Just then, Jinzu rolled over and faced him. Namdo felt jealous. Bandu had successfully challenged Namdo, but the victory didn't last. Jinzu rolled over again and faced Namdo. Namdo grinned, flashed a victory sign at Bandu, which made Bandu furious and slumped down in defeat. The next day at school, Bandu was researching time travel. He even called the local authority to ask when the last earthquake happened in Seiyun and borrowed every related book from the library. As he left, he saw Jinzu walking stiffly into the restroom. Bandu sighed, thinking, "She's going to be uncomfortable." For a while? Jinzu, after finishing, realized she didn't have any sanitary pads and tried calling Cho's, but her friends outside didn't hear her phone. With no choice, she called Bandu, who was in a pharmacy buying menstrual pain medicine. Jinzu said she had forgotten to bring supplies. Bandu understood immediately and picked up a box of pads. When the pharmacist was packing it, he asked, "These don't have wings, right?" Then he swapped it out for another box with wings, drawing curious glances from nearby women. Outside the restroom, Bandu didn't know how to deliver it. Suddenly, Gokche came from behind and shoved him, causing everything to spill. Gokche exclaimed, "What kind of pervert buys this stuff?" Even Borium looked at him disapprovingly. Calmly, Bandu picked up the pack and handed it to Borium across from him, saying, "Jinzu's inside," then walked away coolly, only to turn the corner and curse Gokche under his breath for making him look bad. After class, Jonale and Borium invited Jinzu to eat, but she was too uncomfortable. Borium promised to come back later. As they left, Jinzu took the medicine Bandu bought and a bottle of water. Just then, Bandu came in with a warm cup of water, scolding her. "How many times? Do I have to tell you? You can't take medicine with soda." He placed her bag down and told her to lie on her stomach. As he massaged her lower back, Jinzu remembered, before their divorce, no matter the time of day, Bandu always took care of her whenever she was in pain. She looked at him, heart aching. Then Bandu noticed the mark left by her wedding ring on her finger. Looking down at his own hand, he saw the same mark. He realized that was the only thing connecting them in this world. The next day, Bandu met the rich girl again, but this time refused her ride and walked away. She told the driver to follow him and brought up Jinzu's name, saying that Park Hae-zook had tried to harass her. Bandu instantly understood what that call from Jinzu meant. She had needed him, but he hadn't been there. Rage surged through him as he stormed toward the medical department. He burst into the classroom cursing and lunged at Park Hae-zook, pinning him down and punching him repeatedly. He remembered how he had once been beaten and humiliated by this future hospital director in a bar at the hospital in front of others. He let out his rage with every punch until other students dragged him off. That night, Bandu drank with Gokche, then wandered the streets alone. Remembering all the times he disappointed Jinzu, he punched a tree in frustration, filled with regret. At home, Jinzu received a call from Bandu, who was standing at her door holding a tub of grapes. Drunk, he asked, "Why am I like this? Even if I could start over, I'd still disappoint you. Why does nothing go smoothly? I really tried, but everything still fell apart like before." He recalled a time when he had just impressed a client and was heading home drunk. He saw some thugs bullying a student and yelled at them to stop. They ignored him. Just then, he got a call from Jinzu. Her mother was dying, and she begged him to come home. But the thugs blocked his way. His phone fell. Jinzu only heard chaos, not knowing what was happening. Bandu was dragged into an alley and later taken to the police station. Despite his pleas, he couldn't leave until the case was resolved. Jinzu had to bail him out herself. When she heard her mother had passed, she couldn't hold back and sobbed in front of Bandu, asking, "Why did you do this?" At the funeral home, Bandu knelt before her mother's photo, repeatedly apologizing, not just to her mother, but to Jinzu too. Jinzu cried and blamed him as a way of releasing her grief. Outside her house, Bandu said, "I tried so hard for our life, but I always feel guilty. I miss your mom too, just like you do." Jinzu teared up, looking at him with complicated emotions. Just then, her mother appeared and both were shocked. Her mother asked, "So young and already married?" Jinzu nervously replied, "We were just talking about school stuff." Bandu nodded along. Later, they went to the park. Jinzu saw his injured hand and scolded him for not taking care of himself. Bandu asked, "Why didn't you tell me Park Hae-zook was following you?" Jinzu brushed it off. Bandu blamed himself. He was never there when she needed him. Jinzu said, "I don't need you to protect me. I need you to be by my side." She continued, "When I cry, I want you to cry with me. When I laugh, I want you to laugh with me. About my mom's death, I know you couldn't do anything, but I still resented you. I never understood why you always acted like it was nothing." Bandu replied, "Back then I thought that was all I could do. I didn't want you to cry. I wanted you to smile." Ever since her mother passed, every time Bandu came home tired, he would smile before entering the door, cook something nice, and help Jinzu escape the darkness. Only once he stepped inside would he drop that fake smile. The loss of her mother pained him just as much as it did her. Jinzu said she never thought they'd have to wait this long to say these things out loud. The next day, the TV announced Michael Jackson's tour in Korea. Seeing her mother singing while working, Jinzu suggested the whole family go to karaoke. Everyone loved the idea. In the karaoke room, the two daughters danced around their mother, and their father sang a love song to his wife while holding her hand, full of affection. Jinzu etched the moment into her heart. Afterward, she intentionally stayed behind and quietly asked the owner for the tape her mom had just sung. The landlady also said that Jinzu's mother had a beautiful singing voice. That afternoon, Jinzu met Bandu again at the library. It turned out Jinzu had gone there to look for books about time travel and happened to run into Bandu returning books. He told Jinzu not to bother reading anymore. He'd already read them all and they were useless. At that moment, Jinzu suddenly noticed a couple kissing in the corner and hurriedly pushed Bandu further inside. Watching the young couple, Jinzu said it was beautiful, but Bandu commented that young people nowadays didn't study hard. Then he noticed a faint ring mark on Jinzu's finger and asked, "Since when have you had that ring mark?" Jinzu replied that it had been there since she arrived. Bandu immediately realized everything. Before they traveled here, they had thrown away their wedding rings. He now believed only matching rings could bring them back. So Bandu searched every jewelry store in Seoul. When he walked into the last store, he immediately saw the familiar pair of rings. He remembered how Jinzu had loved them at first sight. Meanwhile, Jinzu dreamed of their son and woke up calling Se-jin's name. Her mother knocked on the door, asking if she wanted to go for a walk. Jinzu never missed a chance to be with her mother and quickly put on a jacket to go out happily. Bandu, having just bought the rings, was rushing to meet her and saw her joyfully stepping out with her mother. He was about to call her when he saw her mother appear. Watching the two hug each other, he felt a wave of sadness. He didn't know if returning was right or wrong. Jinzu had her mother here, while their son was still waiting in the future. Holding the ring box tightly, Bandu stood silently, unsure of where to go. As Jinzu and her mother walked past a store, they saw a drunk man causing a scene in the street. The man shouted, "You think you're better than me? I always have to bow my head just to earn a living. I'm a person too, not a dog." He yelled at passers-by, "I'm not a dog. Whatever I do is wrong. I've tried my best. What more do you want?" The man, crushed by life, sat helplessly in the street. Jinzu stared at him, tears falling unknowingly. She remembered how, before their divorce, Bandu had said similar things over the phone. He had tried his best just to live well, yet always felt guilty and ashamed. Back home, she told her mother to go ahead and that she had to meet someone important. On the street, she called Bandu, who was drowning his sorrows in alcohol and ignoring his ringing phone. He couldn't answer. He just kept drinking to numb his broken heart. But the phone kept ringing, and finally he picked up. Jinzu sobbed, asking, "Where are you? I'm crying. Do you want me to cry alone again?" Bandu, holding the rings, rushed out madly. At that moment, Namdo was driving and saw Jinzu waiting at a red light. He stepped out, looking at the girl he liked standing on the crosswalk. Suddenly, a child ran into the road chasing a ball, and a car sped toward him without time to brake. Without hesitation, Jinzu rushed out.
Just as the car was about to hit, Bandu leapt in and pushed both Jinzu and the child to safety. Taking the impact himself, Jinzu ran to him and saw him smile faintly. Terrified, she cried helplessly as Bandu lay unconscious on the cold street, a single tear rolling from his eye. Next to him were the rings, still undone. Namdu helped Jinzu take Bandu to the hospital. Emotionally overwhelmed, Jinzu followed to the surgery room door but was stopped by nurses. She collapsed to the floor, crying. The doctor came out asking for a family member to sign. Jinzu said she was family, but the nurse insisted friends couldn't sign. Just then, Bandu's parents rushed in. Jinzu finally felt supported. Namdo watched quietly. He didn't understand what had happened but knew he had lost. The next day, Jinzu tried to visit Bandu in his hospital room, but only family was allowed. Even on the second day, the doctor said visitors were still not permitted. Jinzu stood in the hallway, looking helpless. Bandu's mother came out, and Jinzu quickly greeted her. They sat on a bench downstairs. Bandu's mother asked if Jinzu was his girlfriend, and Jinzu nodded. She said Bandu was recovering well and told her not to worry. When she could visit, they would inform her. As they parted, Jinzu hugged Bandu's mother from behind and told her not to worry too much. Inside, Bandu sat dazed on the hospital bed. His mother asked why he kept telling Jinzu to go away, saying she was a beautiful and kind girl. Bandu smiled softly, asking his mother to remember that, even if she didn't now, Jinzu had always treated her well. The next day, Jinzu waited outside the room again. Gokche ran over. Jinzu said friends weren't allowed to visit. Gokche replied, "Why? Bandu told me to come." Jinzu realized Bandu was deliberately avoiding her. Inside the room, Bandu sat silently. He remembered when Jinzu said she was miserable, and how happy she looked hugging her mother. He decided to let her stay in that happiness. If he couldn't give it to her, he'd step away. Just then, Gokche opened the door and behind him was Jinzu. The two sat in the hallway. Jinzu asked why he was avoiding her. "I really thought you were going to die that day," she said. "The world felt empty, suffocating. I was terrified, like when my mother died. But I couldn't do anything. They said I wasn't your family. I couldn't sign the papers for the man I'd lived with for 18 years. She grabbed his sleeve, asking why he was pushing her away. Bandu only said sorry. He admitted that facing death made him realize how selfish he'd been. "We don't even know how to return. The present matters more than the future. Jinzu, forget everything and live happily here with your mother." He thought love could conquer anything, but realized he was wrong. "I can't promise to keep you from crying forever," Jinzu asked. "And what about our son?" Bandu looked away. She asked if he was abandoning their son too. Bandu, choking up, said, "Compared to the son who fills my mind, you are still the one I love most." Jinzu burst into tears. Bandu had chosen to bear everything alone just to let her be happy. Later, the doctor returned the rings found at the scene. Bandu stared at them, knowing they might never go back to the way things were. He quietly closed the box and cried, holding the rings to his chest, whispering, "I'm sorry, son." His sobs became uncontrollable. Elsewhere, Jinzu cried in her mother's arms, the only warmth she could still feel. Her mother hugged her tightly, thoughts unknown. The next day, Namdo visited Jinzu. They sat on a park bench. Namdo had made rice balls for her, saying he only did this for someone he liked, with no other intentions. They talked until nightfall, and the conversation turned to mothers. Jinzu said being a mother might seem ordinary but is incredibly hard. "When your past, present, and future vanish, you feel worthless and small," she said, reflecting on her future. She hugged Namdo and thanked him for liking her and for reminding her that she was still a woman. They smiled and said goodbye. In Bandu's hospital room, all his friends came to visit. Only Gokche sat quietly. He had received his military enlistment notice. He had cut his long hair and now felt cold ears and neck. He had worked hard on his dancing and was finally selected for the school cheer squad. That day, Jinzu's mother found a letter Jinzu had written. It said that the day she woke up, she saw her deceased mother. Not in a dream, but real. Reading it, her mother remembered how Jinzu always said she was happy to see her before curling up to sleep. She recalled when Jinzu asked, "If you met my son, you'd spoil him, wouldn't you?" She also remembered hearing Jinzu murmur "sane" in her sleep. Then she found Jinzu's diary, which listed her dreams. Go to a club. Bathe with mom at a public bathhouse. Sing karaoke with mom. Drink alcohol with mom. Say goodbye to mom. Reading this, she began to understand. That night, the mother invited Jinzu to drink. They laughed and sang together. After getting drunk, Jinzu lay on her mother's lap, silently enjoying the warmth. Her mother said, "Jinzu, my beautiful daughter, go back to your child now. I don't know what's happened, but I know people can live without parents, but not without their children. Don't cry. Maybe in that world I won't be with you anymore, but all sadness will fade. You'll become stronger." Jinzu cried hard, saying sadness wouldn't fade. She would always miss her. Elsewhere, Bandu sat on the stairs. Seeing someone else's child made him long for his own. Unable to hold it in, he ran to their home 20 years in the future. It was still a pile of rubble. There, he saw Jinzu in tears. They looked at each other. Jinzu smiled and called him husband. Tears rolled down Bandu's cheeks. He said, "Let's go home." He ran to hug the woman he loved most. Back in Jinzu's bed, her mother held her hand and said, "If you go where I'm not, take good care of your father. Without me, how will he live?" Takes a Jin to visit him often. Jinzu squeezed her hand and smiled bitterly. That night, Bandu found Jinzu. They held hands tightly. He said, "Let's go see our Sane." Jinzu nodded happily. They exchanged rings and kissed deeply. The next morning, Jinzu woke up and immediately sat up. Seeing her son, she laughed and cried as she rushed to embrace him. Bandu entered, hugged them both. Their family was reunited. They treated the time travel like a short trip. Every journey eventually leads home. The next day, they invited their parents for a meal. Jinzu's father hugged Sejin tightly. Bandu's parents arrived in a luxury car. He joked, "You've got so much money, huh?" His father said, "Exactly. So much we don't know how to spend it. Are you bragging about making us rich?" Bandu asked, "Did you really invest in the area I suggested?" His mother replied, "Didn't you tell us to?" The couple was secretly happy. The whole family enjoyed the meal. Only Jinzu's mother was missing. An irreplaceable regret filled only with memories. Bandu and Jinzu walked with their son in the park, spotting a familiar silhouette passing by. They smiled. Namdo turned and looked at them. A chance meeting, but maybe one that lasts a lifetime. Life cannot turn back time. So treat your loved ones kindly. Cherish every step forward. That is the right attitude. Thank you for watching with me. Subscribe and see you in the next story.